Good day, everybody. I'm Shmi, and today I'm back to teach you how to create a Golembrand witch. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. This is a very flexible and easy to play selfish minion build. You don't need any pre-farm, so this works great as a zero effort league starter build or as a shell build for anyone who wants to try out some of the new transfigured spell gems. You'll have 4 golems, however, they're just buff bots, and they get automatically resummoned if they die. That's what I meant earlier when I said it was a selfish minion build. Originally, I was going to use Stormbrand of Indecision, however, if you do choose to use that, just know that your damage will struggle to push deep into the endgame. Instead, you can swap over to Penance Brand, particularly the new Penance Brand of Dissipation, and immediately steamroll Elder Slayers and Pinnacle bosses. In fact, you could even make a fire or a cold variant of this build, but this guide is only going to focus on the primary lightning version. The key to your damage scaling is having a gigantically overpowered lightning exposure and applying it easily on every single cast with Wave of Conviction. Not only do you get the inherent exposure from Wave of Conviction, but your Ascendancy Mastermind of Discord will further lower enemy resistances by another 25%, and you can head to the Wildwood and you can pick up Affliction Charms that will push another 7% per charm. As you're also using lightning skills, you can toss down an Orb of Storms with Hex Touch to apply conductivity without ever having to cast it yourself. Basically, nothing will ever be able to resist your lightning damage with this build. Defensively, this build has far more toughness and sustain than it has any business having. You will have a mediocre armor total, but the massively added physical damage reduction from your Chaos Golem buff will make you a very tanky caster in the end. You're going to be wearing Templar armor with a caster shield and either using a wand or a scepter. You're still going to want to find all the traditional caster stats like increased spell gem level, added lightning damage, and increased damage. However, the main stat that you're going to want to chase is increased cast speed. Your brands are your primary source of damage, and you want them firing as often as possible. If you're using Penance Brand of Dissipation, this actually brings up a very weird conflict with the Swiftbrand support. If you were using Stormbrand or Armageddon Brand, Swiftbrand is an automatic include because it simply equates to more damage at the cost of needing to recast the brand more often. Penance Brand of Dissipation is different though. Because of the innate energy mechanic, the vast majority of your Penance Brand damage is going to come from pulses at 20 energy. Swiftbrand will get you to 20 energy faster, but it has a disproportionately harsher penalty on the duration of your brand. Your damage ramps up much faster, but you get proportionally fewer activations at 20 energy. The key to understanding Swiftbrand with Penance Brand of Dissipation is knowing your damage uptime. If you are in any situation where you can just sit mostly still and cast your rotation, then Swiftbrand is a great choice and it will significantly increase your damage. On the other hand, if you're doing something like a long boss fight that requires a lot of movement, then it's best to drop Swiftbrand because you're not going to be able to maintain the necessary uptime to make it worth using. In addition to Swiftbrand, which you generally will want to use, you will also use the Physical to Lightning, Faster Casting, Lightning Penetration, and Spellblade supports. On Wave of Conviction, you're going to use Physical to Lightning, Arcane Surge, and Innervate. On Orb of Storms, you'll use Hex Touch and Conductivity, and you also have an optional 4th link here that honestly, it doesn't really matter. You could put something like a minion support on your Golem or something on Orb of Storms or leave it empty. It honestly doesn't make much of a difference, so I just use increased area of effect on there. You also get to Aura Stack, though you won't get to add in your final Aura until you've gotten an Enlightened gem. You'll use Clarity, Zealotry, Determination, and Herald of Thunder, and the reason that you're using Zealotry instead of Wrath is because the added crit helps smooth out elemental overload, and the Consecrated Ground is just great to passively generate. If you want to play a Golembrand Witch, all you really need to do is just make a Witch and start playing. Early on, you can use pretty much whatever lightning spell you want, whether it's Lightning Tendrils or Spark, whatever. You're going to want to get Orb of Storms after you finish the Breaking Some Eggs quest, and then once you hit the Cavern of Wrath, swap out your original lightning spell so that you have Arc, Stormbrand, and Orb of Storms. But one of the things that's a little unfortunate about this build is that you don't get Wave of Conviction until Act 2, Penance Brand until Act 3, or your Golems until Act 4. Early on, this build feels like a very generic and honestly pretty mediocre caster, but then suddenly it just turns on right as you head into Act 5. Because of that, you do kind of want to focus on your damage early because your damage can be quite mediocre. To level up your passive tree, take the left-hand path out of the Witch starting area, and then cut in to take Arcanist's Dominion and then up to take Lightning Walker. Then head across to the left and down to the Templar area to take Discipline and Training, Holy Dominion, and Light of Divinity. Then cut over to take the Runebinder Keystone as well as the Runesmith Cluster. Take Quick Recovery, Heart and Soul, and Practical Application next before you develop upward, and you're going to want to go all the way to take Golem Commander. As soon as you get those Golem skill gems at the end of Act 4, you want to be able to summon 3 Golems right away. Once you have that Golem Commander, then you're going to want to develop the left-hand side and go up to take Spiritual Aid. Then cut in on this side to take Elemental Overload. Once you have Spiritual Aid, Elemental Overload, and your Golems, now is the time to focus on your defense. You can take Faith in Steel, Sanctum of Thought, and then cut down to take Combat Stamina and the less crit damage taken mastery, and then cut in to take Constitution and Iron Will. Now you're going to want to get your auras going, develop up and take the Sovereignty Cluster, then develop over here and take Deep Thoughts, but more importantly, take the Mastery, which gives you 12% increased mana reservation efficiency. At this point, the build is fully set up, and so you can choose to simply fill in the rest of the build as you'd want. Don't sleep on those jewel sockets, though. As soon as you have a jewel that's worth equipping, then immediately jam the next jewel socket up to priority number 1. For your Ascendancies, you're going to want to take Liege of the Primordial first to get that 3rd Golem, then Elemancer second so that you can summon all 4. Whether you take Bastion of Elements or Mastermind of Discord 3rd is actually up to you. The choice is just whether you want defense or offense first. For the Wildwood, you're going to want to head in and follow Blue Wisps to get to the Primal Huntress so that you can use charms. I haven't had enough experience using all the different charm effects to fully test this, but I regret focusing on the increased effect of Golem buff charms. Your build gets so much of that stat already that the diminishing returns hit pretty hard, and I don't think I'm getting much at all from that. You're going to want to get at least 1 charm that has power charge on critical, but then you're also going to want to push and find charms that further empower your exposure. This is the stat that I should have been seeking out when I started finding charms. And also note that these charm effects do stack with your Ascendancy Mastermind of Discord. The beauty of this build is just how much borrowed power level you get from having those 4 Golems active. You get a giant boatload of free stats, and because of that, you just dive right into the end game. This may be the easiest class that I've ever played early on in white and yellow maps. And if you choose to use Penance Brand of Dissipation, because honestly the damage on that is just nutty, and the damage scaling is nutty, and it's probably going to be nerfed, so if you want to try it, do it now. It's a 0 effort League starter build that can smack around the Elder Slayers and clear pinnacle bosses. For anyone looking to test out the new transfigured brands or other transfigured spell gems, anyone who's starting Affliction League late, or anyone who's just looking for a nice, comfy, easy build with zero required pre-farm, this Golembrand Witch is perfect for you. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care, Exiles.